Mary Heiko Hunt, who is in a really interesting niche. And, very often people ask me, oh, is VBS just for people in business? And today's guest is going to show you that it actually can be used in a lot of different spaces. So instead of me revealing what that is, Mary, why not tell everybody a little bit about your background, what you do, and who you serve?
Okay. Well, I hope you're sitting comfortably because this could go on for a while. Okay. But essentially, I'm a business coach. I describe myself as a business coach, but I'm an unconventional business coach because what you get with me is a hybrid. Because I'm a kind of mix of, yes, I'm a qualified business coach, qualified life coach, but I'm also a former research psychologist. Now that should scare everybody witless, I think. So I'm a research psychologist, former, I'm also a lifelong intuitive. Now, how about that for a batch? I mean, that's really, that's very different. But there's something in there for everybody, I think. And what I do with this is I kind of roll up all those experiences as both as a research psychologist, not a clinical psychologist, I need to emphasize that, and an intuitive, lifelong intuitive, into my work as a coach. And I help largely women, mainly women at the moment, women in business, with both their development of their personal lives and also their businesses, because you can't separate the two, as I'm sure you'll agree. You can't really separate yourself from your business. So that's what I do. That's who I am, and that's what I do.
And you use really interesting, very interesting methodologies. Use a lot about the lunar cycle, astrology-based coaching, and you come from a place of, yes, you have control of your life, absolutely, and there are things in the world and there are energies out there that can help you do it better, faster, easier, and so on.
Yeah. It's that use. It's tapping into one of the things that I spent a lot of years researching is the process of manifesting. And manifesting is not as simple as a lot of folk would have you believe. It's not as simple as writing a wish list. It's not as simple as cosmic ordering. It's not that straightforward. There's a fair bit of work you need to do sitting behind that, which is where the psychology aspect comes in. But also through the process of all this research I've done over these decades, I've found out about the power of what I call natural cycles that we can tap into that support us. Because it's not about handing it over to something else to do it for us. We do it ourselves, but we can draw on the power, for example, of natural cycles, as you just described, like the lunar cycle and the solar cycle, to really boost, enhance what it is we're going about. And that's a lot of the stuff that I teach, actually. That's basically what's sitting behind a lot of what I do, the intuitive processes and the natural cycles. And of course,
it's very fascinating.
This is what I actually brought into the bundle that I developed under your tutelage.
Okay. Which I will include in the description. If anybody's curious about your work, go ahead and check that out. Speaking of that, how did you find out about the Viral Bundle system? Where did you learn about it?
It was word of mouth. It was good old Veronica Pullen, who I've worked with before. And I'd heard a lot about Katya and the viral templates, which was my first introduction to you. And
so you bought our templates?
I did, and came into your group that way. And I find the group, incredibly valuable. I watch it, see what comes through on a daily basis. It's really useful stuff. And then obviously through that, I came into the bundle system.
Amazing. And when you joined, what was your business model at the time? What were you selling exactly? At what price points? Just walk people through what your business looked like before doing this.
Okay. Well, most of my business model beforehand was one-to-one. I've been in business now for coming up to 3 decades. And the large chunk of that has been this, one-to-one work, which is, getting paid for hours, that usual, where you hit the ceiling. And I spent, as I said, 2/3 of that time has been doing face-to-face work. And about 4 years ago, I decided that I actually wanted to change that model, and I wanted to move into more digital, the digital landscape, and actually start working there, because that way I could develop one-to-many, and I could expand my teach reach, that way.
Yeah, absolutely. When you do teach one-to-many, you get to help so many more people than when you do one-to-one, and you get to reach people globally. It's a huge benefit. So when you came to VBS, you already had kind of like a one-to-many model. What kind of things were you selling just before you joined?
Well, coaching, life coaching sessions.
Like one-to-one.
One-to-one, yeah. And also I had been doing a lot of workshops. I'd been running courses, face-to-face courses, one-to-one, for that way around. But the idea was to transport that all onto a digital platform, which I have to say is taking a lot longer than I bargained for, but there we go.
I totally hear you.
Because at the same time, I'm actually, I'm still running the one-to-one business. So it's kind of like two jobs in one, isn't it? When you're running one business and then you're trying to develop the next level another way.
Exactly. So that was your business model, and then you come across VBS and you're like, oh, that looks interesting. Did you have any skepticism about joining, or any reservations that this may not work for you?
No, I didn't actually, because that's the value of referral, I think, because I trust Veronica. She's not going to sort of recommend anybody who's no good. And what she had to say about you and your systems was, right up there. So of course I didn't. I wasn't skeptical. I was curious because it was an introduction to a business model I got no knowledge about at all. And I was, obviously you approach it thinking, well, how's this going to work? But I wouldn't say I was skeptical.
Yeah, absolutely. So you came in and you're like, okay, I'm going to create my own viral bundle. I want to serve lots and lots of people. Great way to bring more students into my world to join my other programs. What was the idea that you came up with? And walk me through that process of as you were going through the system, how was the creation process for you, and what did you come up with?
Well, it was a kind of no-brainer, really, because it was something that I'd already been offering in a very slight way, which was the Lunar-Powered Abundance Starter Kit. There it's all packed into that title. And so I already had foundation for the bundle, which I saw as we went through the course. I could see how I could structure it and turn it into a bundle rather than just this one item, which is what I was offering. And that's what came through with all the instruction and the teaching that you were, that you were giving, you were bringing. And I could see how actually, the problem was I got too many ideas, actually. I tend to live under a waterfall of ideas anyway. I'm a Gemini. I do it, I do ideas for a living. But it was learning to be strategic about that, which was something else that came through the course, which I really benefited from.
Amazing. So basically, you didn't go and think, oh, what can I create that's brand new that I've never done? You went into your existing frameworks, existing teaching, and you already had this concept of lunar cycle abundance. You already had that. And now let's just do a starter kit so that it's something affordable that can lead on to your main lunar cycle abundance.
Absolutely. And it's introductory, it's a starter level.
Starter level. So when people try it, they can be like, oh, this is interesting. I want to dive deeper. It's kind of like the brochure to the main offer. Except it's not a free brochure. People pay for it. So you get to pre-qualify them and they're already interested and they're willing to spend money. So that's really important. What was the first thing that you did after you came up with the idea? Walk me through that process for you.
Well, it was figuring out, there were two things really, because it was figuring out, okay, this is a bundle. So how do I bring, yummy value to this, because it's not just value, it's got to be yummy value, hasn't it? It's got to be something that makes people want to go, oh, I want some of that. But the other thing, one of the things that because I was thinking about this earlier, actually, one of the things that really helped was you introduced something, the concept of a value ladder. That was so useful. It was so useful because it obliged me to sit and think, okay, hang on a minute. This isn't just about flinging stuff out there. This has got to be strategic. It leads somewhere.
Yeah.
There's a point and a purpose to all of this.
Yeah.
And actually, that was so useful, Katya, because it really made me stop and think, okay, how do I want to build this? What kind of structure do I want to give this? And that was incredibly useful, actually. There was real value in just that one bit of the course, actually.
Yeah, that's really good to know. In VBS, we always say that your bundle is like a slice of a pizza and your business is the entire pizza. But so many people just create slices of different pizzas and then the slices don't fit together and it's just disjointed. So when you have a really strategic value ladder, you have a delicious pizza that tastes good and makes sense, so to speak. So did you tell people, did you go ahead and do a pre-sale or did you go and just create the bundle? How did you go about it?
I went ahead and created the bundle rather than do a pre-sale because for the reasons that I've really just described.
You already had everything.
This was something that was already existing. People already kind of knew about it,
So when you sold it the first time, when you launched, you already had everything. It was ready to be delivered and everything.
There wasn't. All I had to do was pull the things together, and which was quite illuminating for me because actually one of the things that hit me was I didn't realize how much I had. That was the other thing, but that I already had, that it actually I could pull together in this really useful way, and that was another big thing that the viral bundle system showed me. Actually, you can tell I'm really addicted to it.
As long as it continues to make you happy, that's all that matters.
And, believe me, it's got a lot of future for me because I've got so many ideas around other bundles.
That's the byproduct of this program. It turns you into an addict of it's so true. It is so true. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about how your launch campaign went? What was your strategy? And then we can talk about some of the numbers after as well. But what was your launch strategy for selling it? How are you going to go and sell that bundle?
Well, it was once I put it all together, and what I did was I kind of hit every kind of data list I had, wherever it was. I'm going to anticipate your question about the numbers though, okay? Because the main point of my doing all of this wasn't to ratchet up massive sales to begin with, okay? Because as I've already indicated, I was actually sending this out to people who already knew about the kind of stuff I did. So they were going, oh yeah, really interesting. But it didn't lead to massive sales, okay? And I wasn't disappointed by that. That's the point I really want to make here. I wasn't disappointed about that because that wasn't my principal purpose in coming into this. I wanted to learn about the business model that you were advocating. That's what I wanted to do. So I know we were talking about, 100 sales and all the rest of it, getting that under your belt, but that wasn't my primary aim here. So yes, I made some sales, and actually I had a fantastic invite to a summit out of this, which I spoke on. I was on the panel, and that extended my reach, which was fabulous. And where I've placed stuff through my email lists, through Facebook, Instagram, whatever, the different platforms I use, and Pinterest, interestingly. Yes, it was drawing more people in, so I built up my lists, and I had, as I said, this invite to speak at a summit, which was really great, and I loved it. And that also has extended my reach, which is, in a sense, a byproduct, because my principal aim was I wanted to learn about this business model so that I could, take it forward in different ways and develop it that way. That's what I wanted to do with coming on your course.
I love that for so many reasons, because what you're ultimately saying is we're not just doing this for the short term.
Yeah.
We are doing this for the long-term benefit of this business. And
Yes.
this is the first time I'm ever doing this. This is my first time ever doing this. And this isn't the time that I'm going to pressure myself to make hundreds of sales. And what's interesting for everybody watching this video, whenever you're watching this, when people come to these calls, I don't know what their numbers are going to be. And I say, I want to share everybody's story. I know there's a lot of leaders out there that only love to share their like flashy, made $1 million in 10 days kind of stories. But I really want to highlight all the stories and all the lessons like yourself. So I'm so grateful that you actually said that. So your main goal was to learn about the business model, and your goal wasn't to make sales, and still you made sales. So do you want to talk about, okay, well, I didn't have the intention to make sales, and yet this is what happened.
Yeah, it's, well, as I said, we're talking about probably 20 sales actually. But beyond that, there's that networking that comes through that, and more people hearing your name and going, oh, that's interesting, let's go and find out about what she offers. What does she do?
Yeah. I have a question for you about that.
Okay.
Have you ever before launched something and done 20 sales in one launch?
Yes. Yes.
See, I didn't know the answer to that, but a lot of people say very often that this is their most amount of sales they've ever brought. But of course, if you're saying that this wasn't that wasn't the main driver, that absolutely explains it. But 20 sales, that's 20 new customers. That's 20 new customers that either didn't know you before at all, or they did know you, but they weren't sure just yet if they were ready to invest. Another question I would ask you is, did you have, of those 20 people, were there any people where you like, I have no idea who this is?
A few of them were. I have no idea. They weren't just people from my existing lists.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the magic. It's like, wait, what? Who's this person? How did they?
Yes. I don't know this name. Who is this? Yes, absolutely. And it's great. I loved it actually, because I just loved the whole concept. It's different from other launches I've done, which were bigger, and they brought in substantial income. The other things that I have done, but they've been full on digital program courses, sort of signature courses. This was my first attempt at something like this. I love it, actually. I just love the whole concept.
That's amazing. What did your customers think about the bundle once they got it and looked at it? How was the feedback?
The feedback was great, because they thought it was, great value for money, actually, which was good. And I remember at one point during the course, there was just one note I got from you, which was, basically, you were suggesting I minimized what I was putting in. I was stuffing it.
You were trying to overgive too much.
Absolutely. Because I think at one point I was considering putting in 3 months free membership, and it was just one place where you stepped in and said, maybe not. maybe offer that as something else.
Oh yeah, I suggested, and this is actually a really nice strategic move. Originally, you were going to place your membership and give 3 months as part of the bundle, and I said, why not offer that as your bump offer, as your upsell for them to purchase as an additional? Did you get any of the 20 actually join the membership?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
Which I think was probably down to, maybe I didn't make the membership sound yummy enough,
Also, when you add it as a bump offer, you only have like 20 characters to explain it,
I know.
Sometimes people need more. In situations like that, what I would usually recommend is that you test it as an upsell rather than as a bump, meaning they would check out, they would pay, and then on the upsell page, which would be a whole sales page on its own, you add the membership there, because you can explain it in detail, because I think it does take people a little bit of more time to decide to join a subscription. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
So that's probably something, a small little tweak, and it can probably help you bring even more people into that as well.
Okay.
Great. Now, you said that you've had a couple of new opportunities, like you had some summit interviews, etc. Have you had any of those customers that have reached out to you and said, I want to work with you, or I want to work with you down the line, or anything like that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, what's been quite interesting is out of that, it looks as though I'm one of the world's best kept secrets because people have been kind of looking at coming and talking to me, or finding out what I offer, the kinds of the full range of the sort of stuff that I do, and they've been going, oh my Lord, I didn't know that's amazing, I didn't know you did that. And so that's actually been quite revelatory for me, because I'm thinking, okay, what have I got to do here to make myself more visible? So it's that's giving me a lot of food for thought. But as I say, this whole digital landscape is relatively new to me. Relatively new. I mean, when you've spent sort of 25 years, traveling around the world or traveling around the country, presenting yourself physically, it's a different ballgame. It's a different ballgame. So I'm realizing I need to kind of develop better tactics for this. As I say, I've discovered I'm the world's best kept secret.
Well,
which is not what I want to be.
Well, if you don't want to be that, this can absolutely be a stepping stone for you. In fact, let me ask you this. What do you think, now that you have this bundle and you're saying you have all these ideas, what do you think the future holds for you with this business model? How many people do you want to impact with it? What do you envision?
How many people do I want to impact? That's a good question. Because I have to bear in mind that there's only me. Okay, I'm not talking, I haven't got associates because I'm a kind of unique flavor, and I recognize that. And the way that I operate, I mean, I've been very, very fortunate to have, many clients. I'm very fortunate from that point of view, on this one-to-one basis. But that's the thing I'm trying to, change. I'm trying to turn the tanker on this. So how many do I want to serve? Well, as many as will be happy to click a button and buy a course is the answer to that. Now, what was the rest of your question? I did get carried away with my own
What
words.
do you see the future of this bundle and the business model for you? How do you see your business? How do you see? Do you see yourself doing business differently from now on as a result of all this?
I do actually. Yes, because one of the shifts I'm making at the moment is working more B2B rather than B2C. And one of the things I'm engaged with at the moment is how to use this business model as a way to build that value ladder around, B2B work, B2B services, principally working with other coaches, training coaches in my own techniques that proved so successful for me in different ways, and also training, helping them in their businesses with these unique and sometimes apparently wacky approaches that I bring to bear. I promise you, they're not wacky; they work a treat, but involves us using different parts of our mind, basically, which is, it's using parts that the other beers don't typically reach, and have often been dismissed as being, sort of more suitable to the end of the pier, which I have to say makes me mad when I hear people describing it that way. But there we go. We won't. I'll get off my soapbox on that one, actually, Kat. We'll have a conversation about that another time.
Oh boy.
So that's where I'm, I'm shifting my business stance, if you like, so that it's more B2B rather than B2C. Is where I'm going with that. And what's engaging my mind at the moment is how I can use this approach that we're talking about here as a way into developing that side of the business. So any ideas you've got about that, I'd be glad to hear.
Amazing for sure. So you mentioned that one of the biggest breakthroughs you had as growing through the VBS was the value ladder. that we share in there. What was your biggest lesson in that you learned about marketing yourself and marketing your bundle and marketing and selling online, selling on social media that came directly from going through the system?
I think there was the help with copywriting. Yeah, with copywriting. I've always considered myself not to be a bad communicator. It's certainly verbally, your biggest problem is shutting me up, as you're discovering. And get me on a hot topic, and I'm gone, I'm off. And the written word too, but the problem for my written word is I can be too verbal. So one of the things that I learned was it was the copywriting aspect. And again, it was one little technique you shared. Can I talk about that?
Yeah, please.
It was the minus 10% plus 10%.
The exercise, the customer
exercise. That was a breakthrough. It was so useful because what it actually produced when you actually use that technique were keywords.
Yeah.
That actually, it showed me that actually I didn't have to get all big and verbose about stuff and write about 10 pages. Who's going to read 10 pages anyway? And it just brought that through, So it's actually the real help I got on the course in terms of marketing was the best bit of help I got there, I think, was with that one little exercise, which was almost a kind of throwaway from you.
It was kind of like, just so you guys know. Because one of the things that I don't do in the system is I don't do like here's a whole customer avatar like everybody else teaches, but it's like, here's a very helpful way to find out the most valuable part of your customer avatar and how to talk to your audience in a way that they will relate instantly.
Yes, absolutely. And that was so refreshing because the avatar exercises, wake me up when we're finished.
You're like, come on, I've been decades in business, leave me alone. I know my customer, okay? I don't need to know about my customer more. I actually need to condense what I know about my customer into one page. Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was why that particular little technique that you shared was so brilliant. It was so useful. Really,
I'm so happy to hear. What would you say to anybody watching this who's like, I don't know, is this going to work for me? Is this not? What would you say to somebody on the fence, and who do you think this is best for? I guess that's probably two questions. What would you say? Yeah. What would you say to let's do this. Who do you think this is best for? And then what would you say to those on the fence?
Well, it's an interesting question, actually, because first of all, I think there are several answers to that question, really, because I think this is perfect for people fresh to business, who are maybe startups or whatever. For a start, that's the obvious answer, because this, when you first come into business, are you going to spend gazillions? Are you going to, and it's not just gazillions in terms of dosh, it's gazillions in terms of time. And one of the beauties of this business model is you don't have to spend years in research. You don't have to spend hours of your week building it. It's actually, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's straightforward. And it's simple. Simple is not the same as easy. And so I think that for startups, this is great. But as I'm also demonstrating, I mean, here I am sort of, sort of grandma in business. And this is, 3 decades is a long time. You make me laugh. Oh, God. And it was a real eye-opener for me. And it was also, again, it was refreshing, because one of the things that you bring is a refreshing attitude to all of this. And you cut through all the BS, and you cut through all this, well, you have to do this and you have to do that, which is so off-putting. in terms of the amount of, you think, oh God, it's like going back to school, with some people. But what I really liked about this, and your way of using symbols and images, your imagery is fantastic as a way of conveying. There's something you say in your course about, you're not a natural teacher. And I'm about to publicly
I'm not a
pick you up on
natural
that.
visual. I'm not a natural visual teacher. So I'm not a
Yeah.
natural, like, I'm not the best with conveying everything in visuals, but I'm very good with, I'm better with words than I am with visuals. But I have a good team that's good at visuals. That's my secret.
Well, if that's the secret, it works. Because I was about to sort of pick you up and say, that's actually not true. Because
it's my team.
Because it's very incisive, the course. We don't get lost and sort of fog anywhere. That's what I found about it. Was really, it cuts through, and it's very incisive, and it's good stuff.
Amazing.
So
and then the final question is, what would you say to someone? What? Say that again.
I was just about to say, are you getting convinced that I really appreciate the course?
I personally final question for you. What would you say to somebody if, somebody on the fence who might be watching this and they're like, should I implement this? Should I go all in on this business model? Because that's the biggest concern, really. Is this the right business model for where we're at in the world?
Yes, I think it is. It's you kind of stalled me with where we are in the world at the moment. Okay, I'm not going to go into that, but I think this is there's real value in this course, actually, because it's not just what you teach now and what you talk about now, because what's also in this course, it's future looking too, and it takes you forward. It's not just about one thing. It takes you forward. It gets you thinking about where you want to go. How do you want to build your business? How do you want to build the future? And the other thing that I really like about it, as I've already indicated, is it's not just about, this one thing, this one product, because this you can use, for vast number, as many products as you can think about, as many digital products as you can think about, as many actual products, physical products you can think about. There's something really, it's you can repurpose this again and again and again, and actually together with that kind of looking forward energy. The one thing I haven't really gone and looked at the moment, I will say here, is taking it into the ads aspect of marketing. This has all been so far organic stuff, okay, organic marketing. And that again, I think, is a huge plus, because it doesn't involve people in having to spend, a lot of money on Facebook ads, for example, or whatever. You can do it from here, you can do it from here.
Yeah, you can do it organically, and then whenever you're ready to expand, you can introduce ads, you can introduce affiliates, you can introduce influencers. There's so many paths you can take forward. And I like to hope that we show you all the different ways you can do it so that you never feel lost. And thank you for sharing that. If anybody is curious to see Mary's creation, I bought it personally when everybody had their bundles done. I went through all the bundles and I bought like maybe 20% of the ones that were really interesting to me, and I bought your bundle because it was an interesting concept. I'm going to link it to the video, so feel free to check it out. Yeah, that's it, you guys. Thank you for watching, and thank you, Mary, for being here and for sharing your experience with the Viral Bundle system. And until next time, everybody, let's get your message famous.